Hello everyone and welcome back to the D&H Solutions Lab. With you once again, my name is Matt Allison, Cloud Technical Specialist, and today I get the privilege of unveiling to you our brand new D&H Cloud Marketplace. So this is pretty thrilling. For any of you out there who are familiar with our current portal, or if you're working with any other CSP portals out there, you're probably well aware of how important finding the right portal that is intuitive to your needs, that allows you to organize usually a multitude of resellers and therefore lots of different services. You want to find a portal that is able to do all of these things and in a fashion that you can wrap your head around, so that it doesn't just overwhelm you each time that you approach cloud services or services business in general. I am very pleased to announce I believe we have found that platform, and we are officially rolling it out as our primary and only platform as of the month of June. So speaking of that, if you're wondering, when am I going to get this? Well, some of you already have. For the brave few of you that had volunteered to go through some of the sort of buggy first few weeks of migration from the old platform to this one, you guys are already on the platform, and you could probably tell me more about it than I could you. Some of you are in our second, third, and fourth phases. You're going to be experiencing the platform very soon. But by the time this airs here at the end of June, I would say the vast majority of you are on the new platform. We're going to be adding new customers onto it first and rolling existing customers over to it over time. If you are interested in getting your hands on this today, please go ahead and email cloudsolutions@dnh.com and we'll put you at the top of the list. So that said, today we're going to demonstrate this new portal. We're going to talk about some of the basic functions that you're going to need to know about when you first get in. They include creating a marketplace, which is really just a sort of a catalog of services that you're going to offer. We're going to create a company, which is the name that the system uses for your end users. And then finally, we're going to order a service for that company. And there's a couple other features that we might slip in here at the end, depending on time. So let's go ahead and let's get started with our demo. So here we are at the home page. So a couple of things I want to point out right out of the gate. This is going to offer you some just basic information all about you, the reseller. So at the very, very top is going to have your company's name. It'll have some information about your company listed here, and a few other sort of like quick links here for you to review yourself. But before we get into that, let me just point out a couple of features. First of all is branding. Now this is our demo environment. This is a demo sandbox, so we used a sort of generic branding here to kind of illustrate what you can do. But very quickly after receiving access to this site, you're able to edit the icon that's in the upper left-hand corner. You're able to edit the icon that's in the browser, which is called a favicon, which is also going to be the icon for the favorites. And finally, the actual theme color of the marketplace itself. So if your company has a associated color, you can use that as the theme for the entire site. In addition to all of those things, if you own your own domain and you would like this site to be a part of that domain and offering it directly to your customers, you can do that as well, sharing DNS records, and we can go into the specifics. Just give me a call and I can talk to you through that process as well. It's actually really, really simple. Okay, but on the main page here, a couple of things to note. First of all, this is a billing summary, which I really like. We don't have anything coming up right now because it's over the last 2 days. And this is our demo environment, but normally you would have a number of different services listed here along with their prices. This spans all of your customers, so this is really more for you. This allows you to see a total of what your services bill is going to be over the course of the month. Finally, I just want to point out audit log. I think this is a really great feature. One of the cool things about the site is you're able to create a hierarchy of users. So you can have an admin account and then several other sub-admin accounts and then just users, whatever the case, depending on your organization. And that applies to not only access to your portal, to the reseller portal here, but also any of your customers' access. You can create multiple user accounts for each of them, and they can have separate different levels of administrative access as well. And every single thing that they do is going to be recorded here in the audit log. So this gives you just a real quick snapshot of what's been going on in your portal. Okay. Now, basics. So on the left-hand side here, this is going to be your company hierarchy. The very top is going to list your company's name, and again, our company's name is Reseller Demo. So whenever you see that, that's the name of us, that's the name of you. And then below here are each of your companies. Now, each of these companies can have additional hierarchy as well. Those are called departments. We're not going to talk about that today. That's where it gets a little complicated, but that gives you more options for, let's say, just a more unique solution that requires a little more of granular categorization. You can do that with this site. But the first thing that you need to do when you first log in is actually determine what it is that you're going to sell on the site itself. In order to do that, you need to establish a marketplace. So let's just do that. At the top here, you'll see a number of different icons. We're going to select Marketplace. And you, as soon as you do, you see all of our existing marketplace lists listed here. Now, why would you have multiple marketplaces? It's pretty simple, actually. This way, you can create a marketplace that just says Microsoft Office, another marketplace that says BitTitan, and so on and so forth. You can do it by vendor if you like. You can do it by category if you like. You can do it by whatever you would like. By establishing these separate marketplaces, you can then ostensibly categorize your customer base then as well. Certain customers will only receive access to X, Y, and Z. But again, these are all just options available to you. Some of the customization is pretty neat. You can change the name for every one of these marketplaces rather. It tells you at a glance here how many customers are attached to those marketplaces and how many services are located within. On the right-hand side, you can see those icons creating each time that I mouse over each of the marketplaces. This allows you to move it in our list here. This list comes into play when you're actually assigning it to customers. So that's why you might want to order it differently. But it allows you to delete individual marketplaces and also then go in and edit them as well. But let's go ahead and click on Create Marketplace at the top and show you how that is done. So as you can see, our marketplace right now is empty with a big icon here just for adding services. So that's the first thing we need to do. The first thing we need to do is we can actually rename this. So let's just, so I don't get it confused with the other ones, I'm going to call it Demo Marketplace. And then we're going to add some services. So we click on Add Services, and it's going to list for us every single service that's available to us. Now, again, this is a demo environment. We have a very limited sandbox to play in. So at this time, we've only added 12 items to our sandbox. So we're only going to be able to actually play with those 12. So to add them is actually very, very straightforward. You can add individual services simply by clicking on the plus here in the upper right-hand corner. Same thing with removing it from that marketplace. You can search for services, by name up here, or you can use these additional filters up here to narrow this down. Keep in mind, when you first come in here on the live site, it's going to actually contain hundreds of several services. So those filters are going to be pretty important. For our purposes today, we only have 12. They're all here on one screen, so it's pretty simple. So if you'd like to add all of these services, which we're going to do today, it's actually as simple as clicking on Advanced Actions up here at the top and click on Add All Visible Services. Now this is only going to add the services that are actually visible on the screen right now. So as you can see by default, that's actually a total of 20. And if we're talking hundreds, we don't want you doing this all day long. So you can actually select here, increase that to 100, and then it only takes a couple of pages of adding the services. However, to make that even easier for you, as soon as you log in for the first time, under Marketplaces, you should see Default Marketplace, and that will actually include all the services that are available to you anyway. Okay, so now that we have a little checkbox on every one of these separate boxes representing separate services, they're added. We don't need to click OK or save it or anything. You can just hit Close, and you can see they pop right back up here in our actual marketplace. Okay. So next step is actually to agree to the terms and services for each of these separate services. So the T's and C's are, or terms and conditions, I should say. So the T's and C's are different depending on the vendor, depending on the actual suite of products, whatever the case might be. But this site does a really great job of making that fairly easy and straightforward for you. If you haven't already, there's usually an edit marketplace at the bottom here. By default, since we added services, we're already in edit mode. But if you're not seeing these little like ellipses here at the top, that's why. That you should click on edit marketplace down at the bottom. But anyway, once you have the dots up here, you'll have the ability to click on the exclamation mark and bring up all of the terms and conditions for all the relative or all the related services. So as you can see, most of the Microsoft stuff is all under the same agreement, this MCA, where there are a few other changes and differences over here. We can accept them separately. So with just one click of accept, it actually accepts all of these T's and C's on the left-hand side. We're going to do the same thing with marketplace branding, the Azure subscription, and then the tenant terms and services as well. Okay, and as you can see, all of our red exclamation marks or points are gone here. That means all of our T's and C's are agreed upon, and we are pretty much done with our marketplace. The only other thing that you can do, which is certainly an option for you, is to go in and edit each of your prices. This is where you can now see all your pricing and everything. Now you can do that all together at one time by clicking down here, Edit All Prices, or you can click on each individual service and click on Edit Price. It'll bring up this same screen here though, allowing you to edit pricing. You can see on the left-hand column over here that these are actually your prices, and then the right-hand column here is actually what you would be charging your customer. As you can see, there's no markup at all, so we're gonna have to go ahead and change that. You can do them individually by clicking the up and down arrows, and you can actually do this on a much more itemized, granular level, or you can click right up here at add markup of certain percentage. In this case, we'll just do flat 20%, but as you can see, clicking the up and down arrows will change the prices down here in real time. If you do, like I said, edit all pricing, you can actually do this all via a spreadsheet. You can take and download all of your existing services that are available, go in and actually edit the column that just says custom price, and then upload that to this same menu here again, and bam, all of these services will have adjusted pricing. So now we have created a marketplace, which is our catalog of services. Let's go ahead and create a customer now and assign that marketplace to that customer. So to add a customer, you're going to go ahead and click on New down at the bottom and click on Company. In this platform, company is essentially your end customer, so keep that in mind. Initially, it's going to ask you for a parent, but in this case, of course, we're just your account, so you're going to hit next on this just about every single time. This might come into play if you have additional hierarchy. That's a little more niche, and we'll address that with you individually. So that's really not important. So just hit next, skip by there, and we're going to put in some company details. So first thing, company name. Demo company name. It wants you to put in a domain name. Now, this certainly can be your end customer's domain name if they already have one, but it's really not necessary. The system is not going to verify it or anything like that. What this domain is used for is merely just logging into this system. It creates a directory of sorts. So you can create multiple users. Each of those users is going to be at this domain name. So you can make this up completely out of thin air, or you can use their existing domain name. Then we're going to put in some of the more important information. Or excuse me, your typical information, I should say. This it will verify, so of course make sure that all their address information is absolutely correct. You're going to want to put in an admin email address. This is typically going to be your email address. However, of course, with those rare cases, your customer may request to be the admin in that case. Select your language, and really we're just going to, for now, fill in all of the required fields. But of course, these are also available to you to add in additional information about your customer. But once you have your address in and the name and the domain, that's pretty much all it needs. We're going to go ahead and hit next. Now, security roles, what this essentially is saying are these are the administrative privileges you're going to give the admin of this account. These ones here with extension are not going to be in the live version. You'll just see all the rest of them. So typically for the admin, you'll just hit select all, move them all over, and you're done. I'm going to remove these extension ones just to make it a little easier to see. So that's essentially what you would get there. And yeah, and it creates a default admin. You hit next, and we're going to select a marketplace. I love that I said I wanted to call it demo marketplace so I didn't get confused, and I already had one. Oh, whatever. The point is we're going to add a marketplace to the system here. You can add more than one. You can add all of them if you like. We're just going to stick with the one because I know it includes all of the available services. Okay. Click Finish, and that is it. It only takes about a moment, and our demo company has been created. And here it is. First of all, let me just show you in the hierarchy. Now demo company name is listed here on the left-hand side. When I select on it, it becomes the parent of the hierarchy, and it's going to list below all of the users and services that I have available under this customer. So first of all, of course, it has only created an admin account. If I want to find out more information about that admin account, I simply select on it, or select it, I should say. And then this gives you some really great abilities down here as well. For example, impersonate. Impersonate is an option that only you are going to have. And essentially what it does is shows you what your customer's experience with the portal will look like. There is a end user facing version of this portal. I'm not going to show it to you because it looks exactly the same. However, it will only have access to certain things. For example, these tools that are up here are exclusive to you. They're only going to show home, for example. And you can see that for yourself by simply clicking impersonate. The rest of these are pretty self-explanatory, rename, etc. So we are going to add a service. How do we do that? We're going to click on new, just like we do with everything. So we're going to click new, service, select the parent. In this case, it's very important that you make sure you select the right company. In fact, let me show you another way of doing this, actually. Instead of going to new and service, since we are already in this account here, since we're already under demo name company, you can actually just click on new service just to be careful that it doesn't actually go to any other account. You can do it that way, and it skips that and goes directly to which service would you like to add. So let's say we wanted to add Office. Let's say we wanted to add Office 365. I'm going to select it, and it's going to give me a little bit of an error here. Uh-oh, it requires something that we don't already have assigned to this account. In this case, it's a Microsoft organization tenant. Now, this account might already have a Microsoft tenant assigned to it. However, in this system, we do not have that tenant associated with the account. So we need to add that first. So let's go ahead and, as you can see, it's actually listed right here. We're going to add a Microsoft organization tenant first. Agree to the terms and conditions. And then we're going to we configure that service itself. Now, if they are an existing customer, you click here and type in their subdomain name, and you'll see, let me see, I am Cloud Geek, I believe. And you'll see that it will verify that this already exists. Doesn't exist. I think it's with an S. Point is, though, this is how you would add an existing domain to a customer here. Doesn't really matter, because we are going to just make a new one, D&H Cloud Demo, unless that is used, which I don't believe it is. There you go. No error is shown, and we can move on. You can select different language. You can select whether or not it's education. This is also where nonprofit and government options will be available. Of course, those need to be pre-approved, so they will only be unlocked if you do that pre-approval. If you want more information about that, reach out. You're going to need to put in a first and last name contact and a phone number. The one thing to keep in mind here is formatting. You do need to add the hyphens themselves. If you don't, then it will give you another error. Now, the good thing about all these errors that I'm mentioning, all the sort of like quirky formatting issues, is it will tell you right now. It verifies each field as you go through, so that way you don't go through this whole process, get to the end, and then it shows you that there was an error. So that's super convenient. Primary contact email address. I'm going to go ahead and just keep putting my email in there. Again, you could probably use yours. This is going to give us notifications, for example, when the actual tenant goes through. If there are any errors, those error messages will be sent to that address, and so on. Here you can put in the customer's MPN, and it will, as you can see, also verify the MPN to make sure that it exists and it is connected to this particular account. This should come up with an error because obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 probably isn't a proper partner ID. But that's optional. We're not going to add that for our demo today. We're just going to confirm our postal code is correct. You can click here to be notified, as I mentioned before. And then finally, billing start date, which is by default going to be today. And you can adjust this, of course, to any time in the past. And that's it. Click Finish. And then it takes roughly anywhere between 30 seconds and a couple of minutes to provision. Depending on the service itself would really determine how long that would take. I do like this screen quite a lot. So once you've actually succeeded in creating the tenant and it's in the middle of provisioning, and this does this with literally everything, every service that you put through, it will give you suggested services as well, which I really appreciate. I think it's a really nice feature of the platform. Okay, so there you go. It only took, I don't know, roughly 2 minutes or so. I was sitting here just hitting F5, refreshing my browser, and once it was up, I came back to you here. Of course, if you don't want to wait 2 minutes from hitting F5, that notify me shot me an email, so I could just wait for that email and come back in that case. So options. But now that we have our tenant created, before we can actually place the order for our service, this system actually requires the signing and the confirmation of the Microsoft Cloud Agreement. Now, the Microsoft Cloud Agreement is something that it has been required for 6 months or more now. And since Microsoft has instated it, various platforms have facilitated that differently. This one it's an absolute requirement. You cannot continue on with your process of ordering Microsoft services without it. So you do that right here at the bottom on the actual tenant screen. So here we are back at the reseller. You'll notice that it's not available here. We need to actually select the tenant that we just created and click on Confirm MCA Acceptance. It's going to ask you to click Confirm here, put in some information. Phone number needs to put in here. I'm not sure why there is no asterisk there, because I do believe this is a required field. But the one thing that trips a lot of customers up, even though it says it right here, just keep in mind that it does need this plus at the beginning of your phone number, which of course is a little odd for us. Okay. And then finally, your date format, as you can see there, needs to be date dot month dot or day dot month dot year. So I think the calendar on this is wrong, so I'm just going to go a year back. If it sees it as a future date, it's not going to allow me to do it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and then we'll click OK. This takes just a moment for this provisioning to go through Microsoft, and once it is done, then this account is ready to go and we can order Microsoft services. So we're just going to wait till that's done. And that's it. So that one's actually fairly quick, 20, 30, 40 seconds, something along those lines. But once it is done, we are done as far as the setup on this account. Now we can place an order for Office 365 in this example. So again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to click on the parent here in this case. I'm going to click on New Service just to make sure that we're covering everything. Remember, I can also go to New Service and then select this customer from a list. We're just going to click New Service in this case. Select Office 365 and you'll notice, different than last time, it actually is listing our tenant as an option from a drop-down menu. So yes, you understood that correctly. You can actually have multiple tenants under the same customer and select which tenant you would like the service to be attached to. In our case, we only have the one, so I'm clicking Next. Terms and conditions, make sure you accept, hit Next, and then the important stuff. So number of seats, pretty straightforward. We're just going to order, say, 5 seats. You can adjust whether or not you want the billing to be monthly or annual right here, which is a huge deal. You can also add a support plan. So by default, all Office 365 subscriptions done through an MSP like yourself require Tier 1 support by default for free. So this is something that you would typically provide by yourself. We can offer you some assistance in that regard, but nothing official. Beyond that, however, Tier 2 and Tier 3 support is available to you at a slight markup. So you can simply add that by selecting 24/7 or 24/7 annually prepaid. Self-explanatory what we're talking about there. 24/7 gets wrapped in to the monthly payment, or 24/7 you pay for the service all up front. We're just going to go with basic for our demo today. Same deal here. Notify me for when the provisioning is complete. Office 365 takes about as long as a tenant. I would imagine that would be quite a bit longer depending on the number of seats. I have not done anything with an awful lot of seats because this ultimately will be charged to us, so that's why I'm going with the cheapest stuff anyway. And then, of course, your billing start date. In this case, is just going to be today. And contract ID. This is for you. So this can be literally anything you want. This is just sort of like a PO. This is a way for you to keep track of this particular transaction. All right, that's everything we got. We're going to click Finish. And sincerely, it is easy. It is as easy as that. The service is now created and it's going to start its provisioning. This is the same process as we did with the tenant. So it's going to take a little bit of hitting F5 here and reloading just to keep an eye out for it. But in the meantime, we can just wait for a notification. Finally, that is pretty much the A through Z. That is really what you know to get your hands dirty, to get in here, start creating customers of yours, and start transacting services for them. But let me show you a couple of other I think really great features of this new platform. So one of the things you can do is use this sales tool that's up here at the top. This gives you the ability to create custom quotes for your customers. So you can actually, put in the customer name up here, the number of users, and title the quote. So you can make all this very unique, and select which marketplace you'd like, this to have access to. One of the things I forgot to mention, I apologize that I'm putting it here at the end, but with marketplaces, you can establish one marketplace at one markup and another at a lower or higher markup. Sorry I didn't mention that at first. It's like this is live, huh? But I think, so that way you can create one quote based off of your lower end marketplace and another quote based off your higher end. But it's this simple. You simply just take whatever you want to sell and drag it into your quote. That's it. And this system is based off the same sort of logic that the primary marketplace has as well, including, as you can see here, the following product requires a tenant. So you just need to click on tenant. Now, this is an example in terms of Microsoft, but there are a lot of services that require other services, and those sorts of relationships are going to be built into this system from the ground up. So you can expect that sort of communication, that sort of, wait, you still need to add this, to happen from time to time depending on the service. Okay, but from here, it's got a drag bar here in order to increase or decrease the number of units. Same with the tenant, of course, but we're going to keep that as 1. And from here, you can save this into the system itself, so it just remembers this as a quote, or you can export it to Excel and then use this as your quoting tool itself. What really makes this great is we're going to have the ability to add your own custom services into this system. So that'll allow you to add parts and labor, or just labor, let's say, or whatever the case may be. Your billable hours will now be something you can include in the same portal and include all in one quote and include it all in one invoice as well. Lastly, the last thing I want to go over with you today is the reporting tool. This is profoundly more robust than anything that we've had to work with here thus far. It gives you a litany of different reporting options, all listed here on the left-hand side, and a very simple configuration for them as well. You simply just click on it, it generates the report. In our case, it's going to be practically instantaneous because we have very little in the way of transaction on here. For you, it might take a couple of seconds, but once it has generated that report, it will generate it as a certain time, and it won't refresh until, I believe, the next day. Point is, though, you can manipulate this data and use it as part of your billing, as part of customer interaction, whatever the case might be. Some of the reports that I really like that I wanted to point out is, for example, your Microsoft seat changes. So maybe over the course of a month, you just want to keep track of what your overall seat change. Are you increasing or decreasing your overall seat number? All of these can be adjusted right here by clicking on this little dial, and it gives you the ability to deliver a start date and an end date. But pretty straightforward. Each one, I believe, is pretty self-explanatory, including all of the individual configuration. And there you have it. That is the portal. Now, I personally believe that this is one of the simplest portal interfaces that I've ever worked with, and that includes CSP as well as practically anything else. Like I said, holds your hand through a lot of the processes. It gives you heads up in case you're forgetting something, and most importantly, I just think it's pretty self-explanatory. Most of the functions here, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That I could dig that. But if there was anything that you just are scratching your head and you don't know how to do, and you don't feel like trying to get Matt on the phone, you have a lot of support information available to you as well, and this is just where I think it hits the next level. So you click on support and then help desk up here at the top, and it opens this custom help desk menu, which I think this is actually going to be the demo. So let me actually show you the live version of this as well, because I think the live help environment is much better. Yeah, let me just show you this here. So the same deal, I'm going to click on support and then help desk. And this is the help desk I really wanted to show you. It includes essentially step-by-step instructions for not only everything that I just went over, but every other thing that you can do in this portal. So let's just start with Marketplace like we did. So this gives you a quick little description of what the Marketplace is. You can find out about what the default marketplaces are all about and how to edit it. But here, how to add several marketplaces to an individual company. And it's step-by-step instructions. It's going to have images once this loads, to show you exactly where you click and what you do. And if that wasn't enough, the majority of these, especially the more commonplace things that you'd want to do, they all even have little short videos. So if you don't even feel like reading, it'll actually run you through all of those steps through this video itself as well. This includes everything from Office 365 and Azure to any of the new vendors that we're going to be adding as well. So there you have it. So that is the new D&H Cloud Marketplace. I hope you, after seeing it now, are as excited as we are. We are thrilled and really excited to get you guys onboarded and to get you starting to transact. Let's figure out how some of the more quirky differences in this platform, which I'm sure we're going to find out through feedback from you, and we're going to continue to excel. So if you have any questions specific to the cloud platform or about cloud in general, please go ahead and stick around. We're going to have a Q&A following this webcast where I'm going to have the ability to answer any questions that you might have. But if you're watching this on demand or if you just can't think of anything right now, remember, you can always email us at cloudsolutions@dnh.com. And until I see you next time, have a great one.